Right, we're now going to talk about KEC International. The stock is higher in the green today by about 1.5%. For the month, down by about 2.5%. 6 months down by nearly 9%. But very much in focus as KEC International started bagging multiple orders. We're talking about 945 crores worth of new orders across businesses. To talk to us more about that, the Managing Director and CEO of the company, Mr. Vimal Kejriwal, live with us. Good morning, Mr. Kejriwal. Thanks for joining us today on ET Now. So let's talk about your order book. Bunch of contracts won in recent times. What is it looking like? Completion timeline? What is it going to mean for your P&L?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. So yesterday we announced around 945 crores of orders, and with that, our total order intake for the year has gone up to 17,200 crores, which is roughly close to 40-45% more than last year. And this also takes our order book, which is the 31st March order book, to close to 23,500 crores with 4,000 crores of L1. So I think we are pretty happy with what we are seeing on going forward on the order book side.
Okay. But which segments can you tell us when you look at this order book that are seeing more traction? What are the more contracts for? Which are the ones that KEC International is bagging more of?
So the recent one has around 70% from the T&D sector and 30% from the railways. Overall, we did around, for the year, if you look at around 40-45 from the T&D sector, 30% from civil, 15% from railways, and the rest from the cables. Also, what we could also do this year has been to keeping in mind the price increase in steel, etc., we also started taking orders for supply of towers in the Americas market and also from our Dubai factory. So around 10% of our order book has come in from the pure play supply orders, which reduces the risk.
Kejriwal, hi there. Good morning. I just wanted to understand what the outlook is on the power sector as well, because we understand that that sector is seeing stronger demand. So do you think that we can see more orders come in from power transmission in the distribution space? And what's your outlook on this sector?
So if you look at our, as I mentioned earlier, we had around 17,000 crores of orders, of which 43% are roughly from the power transmission sector. This year, we are clearly seeing that the India order book for T&D will improve, especially coming from power grid. And if you are tracking the Leh-Ladakh solar is advancing significantly. The transmission lines and substations for that are getting tendered out in a couple of months. So we clearly see that India order intake from T&D will improve. Also with the talk of reducing the losses of DISCOM and transmission losses, we will definitely see some more ordering happening from the state transmission companies, which require the network a lot. So clearly, I think India will do good. And international, I think with the oil prices being where and Middle East being a very large market for us, we clearly see that there will be a lot more orders coming in from Middle East. Even this year, I think out of our order intake of 70,000, roughly 10% has come from the Middle East.
Okay, fair enough. And what about the kind of option and opportunity rather that you're looking at from the 5G auction? Are you expected to see some sort of increased demand within the telecom space?
Definitely. One is from the 5G auction, and also with what government has been trying to link all the states and defense and all that. We just, in fact, this order, we also have got some orders on the optical fiber for strengthening the network. So we are clearly seeing that, although that's not a very large market for us, but I think we are clearly seeing more demand on the optical fiber side.
Middle East, and that's where you're likely to see an order pickup. What about, the Americas, the SAARC region? What kind of an international order thrust can we see? And can you just break it up for us in terms of domestic and international on your total order book?
So our total order book roughly has around 40% international, or actually 37% international and 63% domestic. The domestic content is higher because of the civil and railways, which are primarily domestic. SAARC, we did very well in Bangladesh. We do expect large number of orders again this year from Bangladesh and Nepal. There are two countries in SAARC which we are seeing a lot of pipeline. And then in India, I have already talked about.
I want to talk financials, but I just want to understand from you, Mr. Kejriwal, the raw material inflation impact, because we're discussing that with a number of corporates across the board and they have acknowledged the impact. So which have been some of the raw materials for you, such as, cement, steel, aluminium prices that have flared up, and how do you plan to deal with it?
So basically what happens is that for segments of railway and civil, we generally have a clear pass-through clause, and so most of the increases get passed on to the customers directly. In power transmission and distribution, some orders are fixed prices, some are variable prices. So variable gets passed on. On the fixed prices, we have been slowly executing the orders. So that's why last year and FY23 also you'll see some impact happening in the initial quarters, where you will have to buy at a higher rate. But clearly the old price orders are getting executed, and with our large order intake for the current year, which is at current prices and costs, we do think that from Q2 or maybe Q3, we will start seeing margins improving.
Okay. So, give us a sense as well that, after that acquisition that you undertook of Spur Infrastructure, there was going to be a lot more bids when it came to global contracts within the EPC space. Have you started bidding? Which are the countries that you're looking at? What has been the progress on this front?
So we have not yet started bidding, but we have started looking at the tenders. We started procuring tenders. We're talking about joint ventures and partnerships. So I think I am very confident that in H1, we will definitely start putting in some bids. Whether we will get revenue or not on the oil and pipeline this year, I am not sure on the international front. But India, we are doing very well, So this year, we'll definitely do at least 100% higher turnover than last year in terms of in FY23 in oil and gas pipeline. But FY24, we will definitely have revenues from the international market coming in.
Kejriwal, for sharing with us your company outlook and walking us through how segmentally things are shaping up as well as domestically and internationally.